Every man sends good morning texts, but few men send them with intention. Fewer still know how to communicate presence, masculinity, and calm strength in just a few words. If you're texting like every other guy, you're getting forgotten like every other guy. But when you understand Stoic principles, discipline, clarity, emotional control, you learn to leave an impression with less. This episode isn't about cheap flattery or sweet talk. It's about crafting messages that show quiet leadership, emotional stability, and focused direction. Messages that make her feel your energy even when you're not around. These aren't pickup lines. They're reminders that you are a grounded man, the kind of man who lingers in her thoughts long after she puts her phone down. You'll learn 7 examples, each designed to reflect strength without being cold, warmth without neediness, and confidence without performance. When sent with the right energy, they don't just say good morning. They set the tone for how she experiences you the entire day. So here's the real question. Are you texting like a placeholder, or like the man she can't stop thinking about? Let's show you how a Stoic man makes even his words feel like presence. Most men send good morning texts out of routine. They're rushed, predictable, and full of filler. Good morning, beautiful. As if that's enough to stay on her mind. But the Stoic man knows better. He doesn't send messages to get a reaction. He sends them to set a tone. And that tone is calm, stable, and anchored in masculine presence. The grounded message isn't about flattery or overexpression. It's about leading her morning with emotional certainty. It communicates that you're centered, and that your energy is something she can feel even through a screen. You're not chasing her attention. You're offering your frame, and that subtle shift is what makes her think about you all day. A grounded message could sound like, clear mind, steady day, handle your world, I'll handle mine. It's not romantic in the traditional sense, but it speaks to a deeper part of her psychology, the part that's attracted to men who are unshakable. You're not wishing her a good morning like everyone else. You're demonstrating what that morning looks like when it's owned by a focused, disciplined man. This message style also separates you from the noise. She gets compliments from strangers, emojis from simps, and wide texts from men with no direction. But when she receives a grounded message from you, it lands differently. It makes her pause. It frames her thinking. And most importantly, it makes her feel safe in your presence, even when you're not physically near. Stoic energy isn't about being cold, it's about being stable. Your words don't perform emotion, they anchor it, and that anchoring creates contrast. In a chaotic, overstimulated world, a man who radiates consistency stands out without effort. That's why your message doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be rooted in your calm. So the next time you're tempted to send a fluffy text just to stay on her radar, stop and ask, am I communicating strength or seeking attention? Because the grounded message doesn't chase, it leads. And that's exactly what keeps her thinking about you long after the message ends. Most men text women with no real direction. They say good morning because they feel obligated, not because it means something. But a Stoic man doesn't waste words. Every message reflects intention. And when you lead with intention, you show her that you're not just present, you're driven. That's what separates you from every other man in her phone. An intentional message doesn't just say good morning. It shows her that you're already in motion. You're living on purpose and you're inviting her into that energy, not asking her to carry your emotions. This doesn't require a long speech. It can be as simple as, early start, focused mind, I'll check in once I've earned the pause. That single message carries layers. It tells her, you have things to do. You're not idle. You're not waiting for replies. You respect her time. But you also value your own mission more than comfort. That's rare. That's masculine. and it makes her curious. What is he working on? Where is he going? It draws her into your life, not just your attention. This style of message reminds her that she's not your focus, but she's in your field, and that framing is powerful. Most women aren't attracted to men who orbit them. They're drawn to men who move with purpose and create space for her to join that movement if she's worthy. Stoic men don't express need through text. They express direction. They communicate that they're in control of their schedule, their mood, and their outcomes. And when a woman feels that structure, it naturally amplifies her respect, her curiosity, and yes, her desire. Think about it. The men she forgets are the ones who check in out of insecurity. The ones she remembers are the ones who communicate from centered strength. The intentional message turns a simple greeting into a reminder. You're not just a man who texts, you're a man who builds. So the next time you send that first message of the day, ask yourself, is this message a reflection of who I am, or just a placeholder to stay visible? Because the Stoic man never sends words without weight. He leads with intention and lets his mission speak louder than his need. In today's world, most men overshare. They text too much, reveal too quickly, and leave nothing to the imagination. They confuse availability with connection. But the Stoic man knows the truth. What's rare gets remembered, and what's predictable gets ignored. This is where the power of the mystery message comes in. A text that holds space, not noise. It makes her feel your presence without handing yourself over completely. The mystery message works because it suggests without explaining. It implies emotion without dramatizing it. It keeps her thinking, replaying, and wondering, because it offers just enough depth to spark curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it. You don't text her every thought. You send a glimpse, a signal of your energy, not a broadcast. An example might be something like, "Solid morning ahead, something about today feels sharp, hope yours matches that energy." There's no flattery, no clinging, no excess. But it lands. It says you're awake, alert, and tuned into your day, and maybe, just maybe, to her. It makes her ask herself, what's going on with him? Why does that message stay with me? Mystery isn't about withholding emotion. It's about being deliberate with your expression. The Stoic man doesn't perform for attention. He lets his consistency, restraint, and focus speak for him. That subtle discipline is attractive, because in a world of men who dump every feeling into a phone screen, the man who leaves room for imagination creates emotional gravity. Women don't fantasize about men who give them everything up front. They think about the man who speaks in layers, the one who says something that lingers, even in synths. That's the point of the mystery message. It's not to confuse her. It's to engage her curiosity. She doesn't need all of you in one text. She needs a reason to want more. When you text this way, your words feel different. They carry weight. They don't just show up. They stay with her. She checks your message twice, maybe 3 times. Not because it was long, but because it had space in it. Space for her to feel something, to wonder, to interpret. That's the kind of presence that isn't forgotten by lunch. So ask yourself, when you send that message, are you filling space or creating it? Because the Stoic man doesn't reveal everything. He lets mystery do part of the talking. And that silence? It's where her curiosity begins, and where you stay on her mind. Protection isn't always physical. In fact, for many women, the most powerful form of protection is emotional. Knowing she's connected to a man who moves with steadiness, not chaos. The Stoic man doesn't need to promise the world. He simply lets his energy communicate, "You're good, I've got mine under control, and you can lean into that." That's what the protective message does. It offers her a sense of grounding, without smothering her with emotion or over-talking. Unlike most men who try to make women feel good through over-validation or compliments, The protective message is different. It's not about her looks. It's not about how much you miss her. It's about stability, projecting calm strength in a world that constantly pulls people in 10 different directions. This type of message doesn't flood her inbox, it stabilizes her inner state. An example might sound like, breathe deep, move steady, don't rush anything today, the right things will meet you when they should. You're not solving her problems. You're reminding her of her center and showing her that yours is solid. That energy, it's rare, and it's deeply attractive. It signals that you're not just present, you're reliable. This message works especially well because it doesn't overstep. You're not trying to fix her emotions. You're not inserting yourself into her business. You're offering a frame, a masculine container she can feel without having to question. That's where trust builds. That's when she realizes, he makes me feel calmer just by how he communicates. Stoicism teaches that real leadership doesn't demand attention. It creates space for others to be steady with you. When you send a message like this, you lead without controlling. You provide emotional structure without asking anything in return. That's the kind of presence that doesn't just make her smile, it makes her feel safe. Women remember how you make them feel far more than what you say. When your message creates a sense of safety, clarity, and gentle encouragement, you're building something stronger than attraction. You're building respect. And respect is what turns a message into memory. So the next time you text her, don't rush to flatter or entertain. Ask instead, does this message anchor her or just fill time? Because the stoic man doesn't just show up in her phone, he shows up in her mind. And that's the version she'll think about long after she reads it. Most men text women because they're bored, because they're lonely, because they're waiting for her to give their day meaning. But a stoic man never moves from lack. He texts from fullness, from mission, from movement. And when he reaches out, it's not to pull her into his need, it's to invite her into his direction. That's the difference between a follower and a leader, and women feel it instantly. The leader's message isn't just a greeting, it's a quiet declaration. I'm already in motion, and this is what today looks like. It signals drive, structure, and self-governance. That alone makes you stand out. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because most men can't say what they're working toward. They're too busy trying to impress someone else. A message like this might sound simple. Locked in today, taking care of what matters, hope you've got something worth chasing too. It's subtle, but powerful. You're not asking for her time, you're not chasing her response. You're reminding her that you lead your own life, and you're extending a calm, confident hand if she wants to keep pace. This kind of message reframes your role in her mind. You're not another man orbiting her attention. You're a man walking forward with or without it. That kind of self-possession is magnetic. It shifts the dynamic from "I hope she replies" to "she'll want to reply because she feels pulled into something real." The stoic leader doesn't speak from ego. He speaks from mission. And when you text this way, you hold space for her without ever lowering your standard. That energy creates polarity, masculine movement met with feminine curiosity. She doesn't have to ask what you're doing with your life. Your words make it clear. You're already doing it. This also sets the tone for how she'll communicate with you. Women will naturally mirror the energy you lead with. If you're aimless and reactive, she'll keep you in the maybe box. But if you're purpose-driven and composed, she'll engage with more intention because she sees you as a man she can actually follow. So before your next message, ask yourself, is this coming from emptiness or from purpose? Because the man who leads from purpose doesn't beg for presence. He inspires it. And once she feels that, she won't be thinking about anyone else all day. There's a fine line between showing care and showing need. Most men cross it without realizing, sending texts that are too soft, too eager, or too revealing. They mistake emotional expression for emotional intelligence. But the Stoic man understands the difference. He knows that true connection isn't built by spilling emotion. It's built by controlling it with calm precision. That's where the emotionally controlled message comes in. This kind of message shows warmth, but never desperation. It's thoughtful yet measured. It gives her something to feel, but never too much to carry. The tone is calm, masculine, and composed. It communicates, I see you, I care, but I'm not here to be saved, and I don't need you to save me. An example might be, thought of you this morning. Hope your day moves with clarity, not chaos. It's a soft touch. It shows you're present, but it still holds structure. There's no emotional overreach, no attempt to draw out a certain reaction, just presence, offered with restraint. And that restraint creates intrigue and respect. When you send a message like this, you're telling her two things at once: that you feel something and that your feelings don't own you. That's powerful, because most women are used to men who either suppress completely or overshare emotionally. But the man who shares with control, he stands out. He becomes someone she trusts because he's in command of his emotional world. This doesn't mean being cold or robotic, quite the opposite. It means being selective, intentional, and grounded. Stoic men don't send emotional fireworks to feel alive. They send emotional signals, firm, steady, and deliberate. That emotional steadiness gives her something solid to respond to, not something unstable to manage. It also sets the tone for deeper communication. When you show that you can express care without becoming emotionally needy, she feels safer leaning into you. She knows your words aren't bait. They're reflections of self-control, and that kind of balance, it keeps her thinking about you, not because you overwhelmed her, but because you left room for her to feel drawn in. So the next time you reach for your phone, ask yourself, is this message grounded or emotional leakage? Because the Stoic man doesn't flood her inbox, he sends presence with precision. And that presence, when wrapped in control, lingers longer than any compliment ever could. In a world where everyone is constantly online, always responding and endlessly available, the man who doesn't rush to text, who doesn't need to show up every morning with a copy-paste greeting, immediately becomes more valuable. Why? Because he's scarce, and scarcity, when paired with confidence, creates magnetism. That's the essence of the scarcity message. Not saying less to punish her, but saying less to elevate your presence. The scarcity message doesn't mean being cold or playing games. It means choosing your words and your timing with strategy. When you're always accessible, your message loses impact. But when your presence is felt, not forced, when your words appear occasionally but land with weight, she notices, she wonders, she rereads. That's when you start living rent-free in her head. An example might sound like, no words today, just focus, stay solid. It's minimal, unapologetically brief, but it's not careless. It communicates strength through silence. You're not ghosting. You're showing her that you're living fully engaged, and if she wants to connect, it'll happen on the level you're operating at, not through constant access or emotional babysitting. This strategy works because women are emotional pattern readers. If she hears from you every day at the same time, the messages begin to fade into the background. But when she doesn't get one, her brain lights up. She starts wondering what you're doing, what shifted. That curiosity isn't manipulation, it's polarity. Masculine independence creates emotional space. And in that space, she leans in. The Stoic man knows his presence is valuable because it's tied to mission. He's not constantly texting to keep her attention. He knows attention gained through consistency alone is weak. But attention sparked through selective, purposeful engagement, that's the kind she remembers. That's the kind that grows in silence. And here's the real beauty of the scarcity message. It reminds her that you have a life with or without her attention. You're not orbiting, you're building, you're moving, and she can either align with that pace or drift behind. Either way, you remain centered. That unspoken standard is what elevates you from forgettable to unforgettable. So ask yourself before sending that next message. Is this coming from habit or from strength? Because a man who texts from habit gets ignored, but a man who texts from purpose and sometimes chooses not to, he's the one she thinks about all day, without even knowing why. You've just seen how 7 simple messages, when rooted in stoic clarity, emotional control, and masculine intention, can do far more than just say, "Good morning." They can anchor her, intrigue her, calm her, and keep you on her mind without ever chasing her attention. Because in a world full of noise, the man who speaks with purpose becomes unforgettable. This isn't about texting tactics. It's about becoming the kind of man whose words carry weight, because he carries himself with weight. So tell me this, which of these message styles felt most like you? And which one do you know you need to master? Drop it in the comments. Let her wonder how you got so dialed in. And if you're building presence, purpose, and quiet power, subscribe to Masculine Stoic Mind, where every word matters, because every move is intentional.